guys. Good morning. It's a Thursday morning, September 11th, 2025. I hate saying that date, September 11th. Good morning, members, moderators, subscribers, lurkers. Again, always take a moment of silence for September 11th. Also, prayers for Charlie Kirk's family, regardless of what side you are ever on. Thinking that we can just go around shooting people is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Again, good morning. Thank you there, Kay Schmidt. 5 memberships going on. If you guys got a green facelift, courtesy of Kay Schmidt. Thank you. Yeah, I was a sophomore in college. I could tell you everything I was doing when I got a phone call from my mom. Horrible. All right, let's talk about it. Let's jump right into it. This episode is the Idaho State Police's interviews with WSU staff and students. But before we jump into it, I want to point out a couple different things if you've been following along. First, it is report 84. Report 84. This is actually the report where you can find on November 18th, Leslie Lehman announces that she received an email from blank blank of blank blank blank, but in a Dropbox link, there's a video. And we have reason to believe that this report, as well as one other report, is actually the 1125 Ridge Road camera footage. Again, so if you want to put that in your back pocket, it is report 84. Next up, report 58 from Idaho State Police. Want to clear something up here. On December 2nd, Idaho State Police said that, after they had gone through the Linda Lane camera footage and after they had gone through 1112 camera footage, we all saw what we're calling like a pathfinder leaving the area. And I want to show you guys what they're saying this is. And I could not agree. I do not agree. So number 5 here is on December 2nd, 2022, Idaho State Police Detective Barrett and I met with blank blank living over there at the Queen Road Apartments. And this person had a registered SUV. Okay. And this vehicle was parked in front of the apartments. Surveillance video footage on November 13th, retrieved from Linda Lane, captured the SUV type vehicle resembling a blank, leaving the parking lot east of the crime scene around 4:24 a.m. Now, they said that a matching vehicle returned at around 6:30 a.m. Now, this is the weird part. They call in this girl. She identified the vehicle as hers. She said that she worked overnights at this blank location from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. She said she worked the night of November 12th and would have returned home the morning of November 13th between 6:30 and 7 a.m. This girl said it was possible that she parked in the lot east of this area that morning, but that she usually parked in front of her apartment. She said that it was possible that she came home during her work shift to check on her cats, but she could not recall. Now, what that would mean is for her to have been pulling away at 4:24, okay? And then they're saying that this is then the vehicle that returned at 6:30. She's at work from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. In order for that to be her vehicle, she would have to have drove at another prior time before 4:24 in the morning. If she left work to go check on her cats, there would be a vehicle sighting, okay, of her coming home at some point between 10 and 4:24 prior to the vehicle leaving at 4:24. There is none. So I have no idea how this is just being chalked up. This, you cannot just chalk this up to what they're saying here, because there has to be another sighting. There has to be a sighting between, like I said, her leaving for work, all right, and 4:24 a.m. for her to then be, oh, I went home to check on my cats. I mean, this case in cats, I'll tell you what, don't fuck with cats, man. Everybody's got a cat. So very strange that this would be chalked up to being this. It's not logical. If she left from work before 4:24 to go check on her cats, because she's like, yeah, that's my SUV. I was leaving at 4:24. Okay. Where is this SUV arriving? And the only thing that I can think of is, ready for this, is Linda Lane shows us when did that vehicle was sitting there and sitting there and sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. We have Linda Lane. That vehicle doesn't arrive and somebody gets out and go checks on cats and comes back. Like, what the fuck? This is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. And this girl says, I normally don't park there. Anyways, we're going to come back to that. But I think it's important to note that they just needed that to be an answer for something. It's not accurate. Something's off there. There may be another, story narrative to that that's not sinister, okay? But that isn't it. What you guys just saw there is impossible if you've been following this case. And so next, I want to point out a timeline issue that I have, but that tells us wonders. Report 178. This is all the interviews that they did pertaining to members of Sigma Chi. Now, if you go and look at this date, of course it's Michael Van Leuven. If you go and take a look at the date of, like, here's what we did, take a look at this. On December 1st, they interview somebody, okay? But then they do not interview anybody until December 13th again. December 1st, okay? They interview somebody and then, whoop, nothing until December 13th. Why is that significant? Well, it's like somebody told them it's okay to do these interviews now. Again, this is the Sigma Chi frat house. This is why would these interviews start on the 1st, then nothing happens till the 13th. Also, I don't want to hear, oh, these people all went back home. No. If anything, this is when school would have been letting out, is like the 13th and the 14th, just before that, for winter break, Christmas break. Well, Lana, what do you think about it? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think about it. I think that's sus as fuck. I think it looks like somebody told everybody, don't talk. And then all of a sudden, everybody got the okay to talk. That's what it looks like to me. And then throw in the mix of people knowing certain things earlier than other people, okay? And what I'm saying is that if you knew the name Brian Culver and if you knew that they had a name and they had a suspect, okay, yeah, it's okay to go ahead and talk now. And so look at the date. It's not like these all start on the 19th or the 20th. They started on December 13th. But they first started on December 1st. And if you look at the report, when they wrote it up, it's like on November 30th, Idaho State Police Detective Alderson and I, Michael Van Leuven, interviewed blank fraternity chapter blank regarding blank who were close with the victim blank. I subsequently interviewed blank, blank, blank. One of them were not. So who did you interview on the 30th? Where's that one? Makes no sense. But it's Mike Van Leuven writing a report. And so I wanted to share that. Way to go, Mike. You rock. All right. So roughly beginning on December 3rd, 29th and 30th for the most part is when there's no interview with anybody prior to the arrest of Brian Culver. Saying the name Brian Culver, there is no tip pertaining to Brian Culver before the arrest of Brian Culver. So if you're keeping track of a timeline, everything starts after the arrest and his name is put out to the world. So during the month of January of 2023, in fact, on January 13th, 2023, with the FBI working alongside of Idaho State Police Detective Roberts, they took Kohlberger's bank card ending in 1973, and they had saw that it was used in Uniontown, Washington on November 13th at 2:36 in the afternoon. And he had put in $52 and some change, roughly about 11 gallons of gas. Roughly filling up your tank, 12 gallons. So a lot of driving. I'm a person that could kind of work backwards. So I'm curious as when did Brian Culver fill up prior to this date? Okay. There is no report to talk about when Brian Culver filled up prior to this date. And why I think it would be important is if you're saying that he was making these trips and driving all over, right? I'm curious of the time that he filled up his gas tank prior to November 13th. And there's no report on that. I think that that's an incomplete report. I would take this and I'd compare it to the last time he got gas with his card and possibly his phone and any reference that he would have made to mother or father saying, hey, let me call you back. I'm getting gas, text, anything to see when the time that he got gas before this. I just think it'd be interesting to take a look at. All right, so there's that. Okay. First interview we're going to talk about is a gentleman at the bookie store. No, we're going to talk about this person. It's on the same report. So here we go. This is until January 19th, but I want to point out because it has to do with somebody's opinion about somebody and how they flirt. So no, we'll just do this one. Okay, this is somebody that went into his office. All right, so on January 19th, 2023, nope, I just totally lied to you guys. That's not the one that we're doing. We're doing this one. Michael Van Leuven. We're going to kick it off with Michael Van Leuven. Michael Van Leuven interviewing the PhD student. So this person advised that so she's a female. Chick. She advised that she was a blank and had completed her undergraduate degree from the same place, WSU. Her advisor was blank. Her mentor was blank. And she knew Brian Kober as a fellow PhD student. So this is one of his cohorts. She first met him at the orientation. She has been in his office a few times. She also met him at a barbecue that the department had in August at someone's house. This girl said that Kober had tried to have personal conversations with her on a few occasions, asking questions like where she lives, what kind of dog she owns. She said Kober would make self-aggrandizing comments. Kober liked to talk about sexual burglary because that was his field of study. Kober was also interested in the emotions of what it felt like when you and after you commit a crime. This girl said that by October, Kober was having issues with other students in their PhD cohort and that he was talking to her more in her office. She described having to clean up a mess he and his fellow teachers' assistants had created working for blank. What? Blank described conversations she had with Kober related to their studies of violent offenders. This includes areas of studies like sexual burglary, sexual assault, and forensic awareness. He talked about different emotions violent offenders might have. He discussed how offenders might avoid getting caught. Kober had asked this girl if she was single. She discussed her relationship with her partner. He asked about other friends of hers and if she was interested in getting together outside of school. She said she was not interested. Kohlberger, fall back. No, motherfucker. She said she had told him she had been blank, blank, blank. And he stated that he did not date broken women. What? That's a interesting way to put it, you know? Like you hear of like a broken home, but a broken woman. Like just odd. That's an odd way to say like, oh girl, I don't want none of your baggage, but a broken woman. Right. He had discussed how he had attended blank and described it as a small rural college in Pennsylvania. He advised that he had been taught by police officers. That's not a lie. I looked it up, and actually the class that he wrote that page that they were going to use in court, the guy that taught the class was like a state trooper or he was either with the sheriff's office or he was a statey. Referring to the Moscow homicides, Kohlberg had stated that whoever had committed the homicides must have been pretty good. This conversation occurred approximately 3 weeks after the homicides occurred. You know, so I make little mental notes of things. And so right when I saw that, I have a column where I'm like, okay, this person says that Kohlberg was talking about the crimes because it's been mainly spread out there that he wasn't talking about the crimes and he would have no conversation about it whatsoever. This says something else. you know. So you can put one in the right column right there with he had no problem talking about it. And this was allegedly 3 weeks after. They discussed the idea that students were getting ready to leave for the winter break right after when the homicides occurred, and that this timing made it a good choice by the murderer. Van Leuven doesn't know how to spell that, but so they both agreed that it was good. This girl did not know what kind of car Kober drove or if he even had a car. This just goes back to me thinking about this white Honda Elantra that's just always getting these tickets, on campus. And I got to think that he's parking pretty close to his building. And I wonder if these people can think back, oh my God, remember that car that was getting all those tickets? They need to bring back the boots. These cars need to get booted. You are not getting your car until you pay. So she doesn't know what he drove. Remember, this is an interview that took place December 30th. Kober never mentioned friends or family to her. So he never mentioned father or mother. He discussed liking to hang out in the forest. Interesting way of putting it. The forest. This girl found this odd because of the lack of forests in the area. This girl said Kober never discussed knives with her. Okay, so again, I'm just keeping my tally going here, and I'm like, okay, he talked about them. He talked about the crimes. He doesn't talk about knives. She has no idea what kind of car he drives. He doesn't talk about mother or father. He doesn't talk about anything, but he talks about the forest. And this girl's like, there's no forests here. I've been in Idaho. Like, what do you mean? There's tons of forestry is one of like their what is it? That's one of the big booming majors over there at the University of Idaho. I don't know what she's talking about, but forestry is a huge major for the University of Idaho. Like, what? You guys, I'm sorry, but that's wild. There's no forest here, goddammit. Oh shit. I'd be like, what a dud, what a boring conversation. If you want to talk to me about this type of shit. That's what I would be thinking, like, God. Mm-hmm. Okay. Regarding complaints of Kober's behavior. So this girl said that she had made a few complaints to blank. I have no idea why this would be redacted. Why can't she say who she made the complaints to? Why can't we know that? Because WSU has to be protected. That's why. She had been directed to copy her complaints to the blank. Okay, so they're protecting not only now the person that she was supposed to go to, but now also whoever she copied the complaints to. She was reluctant to do this because she had not had good experiences with the blank in the past. With the what in the past? With HR. I mean, what? So something happened to her before where she had to go to them and she didn't have a good experience. So she was like, I really don't want to do this again because think about that. That's a knock on the university right there. A knock on the university. In any capacity, regardless of what these redacted words are, this is 100% a huge dig on the university. Yeah. This girl said that Kober was insulted that the department had brought on 2 women to fix his grading work as a TA for this class, like blank. So let me get this straight. He tells this girl, can you believe these people are complaining about me in my work? And she's over there like, yeah, bitch, I put in a complaint about you. And he tells this girl, can you believe this? And then they had the audacity to put 2 girls on it versus like a guy and a girl or 2 guys, or just why even put anybody? So he tells, if somebody's trying to be the smartest person in the room and trying to be, Mr. Perfect, don't those people not usually go and tell people of their shortcomings? Like, if you want everybody to think that you're something that you're not, why would you ever tell them about this? Because it's not like this would have been talked about in front of everybody. All right. Number 11 here. She discussed finding Culber's Reddit. Okay, so this girl is totally engaged with, dude, this is, okay. This is an interview on December 30th. All right. You clearly get the breaking news. Oh my God, one of the kids I go to school with, oh my God, that's in my PhD program. Holy shit. You start researching his name, right? So you have all this outside media influence. And so here she tells us, hey, I saw his Reddit survey. You guys, they had that Reddit survey down pretty quick if you didn't get it right away. They were like removing it. If you didn't get a screenshot of that right away, that was taken down. So for her to read it, like, she got on it. So she discussed finding it. So she didn't know that it existed before then. And so she found it. It's discussing his research at that school that he went to. She also said she had found his SoundCloud. And I would be like, okay, how did you find that? Again, were you on one of like the YouTube channels? Were you on TikTok? Something like that. The Reddit included him surveying ex-convicts about their emotion when committing crimes. So then this would go hand in hand with what she said up here. After the homicides had occurred, he said, meaning Culber, in quotes, he said he had a few scrapes right now. What? After the homicides had occurred, Culber said to her that he had a few scrapes right now. This statement was made at the Christmas party. She noticed that after the homicides, Culber was at the office more. She observed him often in his office. She assumed he was coming back for the spring semester because he had asked about a theory class that they would take in the spring. This girl said that she didn't observe anything specifically about Culber that pointed to the homicides besides his focus on policing and comments about women having a harder time getting a job as a professor, especially when he hit the job market. What? God bless it, Van Leeuwen. You suck at rating. She said that Culber had conflict with blank, questioning her immigration status and insinuating he was superior to her in his research abilities. What? Okay. Did Brian Culber do any research before he went to WSU? Did he even look at the website? You guys, if that's not a screaming website for diversity, I don't know what is. That website, it tells you it's a diverse school. Like, I mean, very much so. Yeah. This girl said that Culver was always late. Always late. Always late. Always late. When there were female instructors. Okay. So I did some research on, okay, you guys remember back when you went to college, you have classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you had classes Tuesday, Thursday. You could take classes throughout the whole entire week, but whatever your classes were on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they were normally like 50 minutes. And if you took classes, your classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they would be like an hour and 30 minutes. You guys remember that? And then if you just took a class once per week, it was like 2 hours and I don't know, it was like close to 3 hours. 2 hours and 30 minutes, 2 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. So I want to know if it was more that he was late on certain days and they were just, that was always like the day that he was late. Because if you look at his tickets, like they're like weeks apart. It's not like he was getting a ticket on the November 21st and he got one on November 22nd. It's like he's I would like to know if it was like a 9 a.m. class, a 10 a.m. class. I'm curious of the time of the class that he was late to. But they are convinced that, hey, he would just show up late to the female classes. And I think that they should take another survey and see what time of day those classes were. And also compare them to the tickets. So there were female instructors. Blank said female students, blank, 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 had a whiteboard in their office where they kept track of number of times when Culver was late to class when female instructors were presenting. Okay, so perfect. Now let's go back and talk about the whiteboard. Okay, ready? The whiteboard. I was on with Birdie and they were talking about that whiteboard. You guys, right here, it's in the report. That whiteboard and why stuff is blanked out. Okay. So you're going to sit here and tell me that they were doing it in front of him, basically. If they had his name up on the board, were there other people's names up on the board? And were they keeping tallies of these people that were late? And were they describing it to Culver as something that it wasn't? And then behind his back, it was like, we're really doing this to chart the female to male ratio. But we're putting other people's names up here to make it seem like it's something else so that Culver doesn't think it's what it really is. That's what it tells me now. But she says it right here. They use the whiteboard in the office. And I think that's crazy. You're very welcome there, Ghost Horse 999. Thanks for doing all these lives for us. It's very much appreciated. Look at I hopefully you're just throwing your earbud in and just doing your work and being like, oh my God, Imagine the numbers on the whiteboard. Imagine he corrected the numbers on the whiteboard. Well, I just think it's interesting because they probably told him it's for something else. Hey, Brian, this is what it's for, and it's for something else. I was going to actually talk about this. A new salamander says, doesn't this all feel overly passive aggressive? What it feels like to me is, remember, you're interviewing people after the fact, and it's a lot of media influence, right? So especially the interviews that don't happen right away and they happen over time. But I think people are commenting a lot in these reports. It's like it's all hearsay versus sticking with what's your personal knowledge, like, and that's why I think the recorded audio of these interviews are very important to understand that, to see if that's how they were being instructed to, what type of questions led to this, led to these answers, So going back over here. Okay. So they kept track of the times when Kober was late to class, when female instructors were presenting, or when he would cut off a female when she was speaking. Now, they used a whiteboard to do this basically in front of him. They had you see his name on this whiteboard. What do you think that they told him that it was for? Do you think that he knew? Do you think that they were like, look, Brian, we're going to start putting a whiteboard up, or we're going to put your name on a whiteboard because you don't think that you do it. And so we're going to point it out to you. And so here we go. Do you think that's how it went down? I don't. I think it went a different way. And the reason I think that is because of the redactions on the whiteboard. There's other people's names up there. Number 15. Blank said Kober was a vegan. So she knew he was a strong Catholic, and that he did not drink. I'll tell you what, those Catholics, man. I went to a Catholic grade school, partial high school. Blank, this girl, did not recall Kober having disparaging comments about members of the Greek system. Okay, so she was asked about sorority life, fraternity life. This girl said that Kober enjoyed conflict and was disparaging towards women. I'm curious if Kober was, if the words conflict or if the words debate, if some of these people are going into law, right? Or one day you're going to be an expert and be in a courtroom, right? Law. It's all about debating. Anybody is also people that are really, really opinionated, they're going to debate. People that are highly competitive, you're going to debate. So I don't know if you would say the words conflict or if it would be, I'm just going to debate you on things that I have a difference of opinion on. Okay. Speaking of that, Charlie, right? I spent a lot of time last night going through a bunch of old videos and how people get shot for their First Amendment is insane. But you could disagree with him all day. But he's right. Communication's the key, right? Whether it's in a relationship or if you don't talk, then it'll lead to other things. And so but here he was talking and it still led to violence. Seems like a statement. Horse shit. Okay. Now this one was interesting to me. She said that she had never so he enjoyed conflict and was disparaging towards women, and that this woman said described an outburst that Kober had regarding a grade he had received from somebody. Blank said in the approximately 40 times she'd been around Kober, she had never observed him exhibit any type of empathy towards others. That's sad, you know? Blank said that Kober did not like the fact that she discounted the offender in studying sexual assault cases. He said she was being dismissive of the offender. He thought she should be focusing on the offender and what they left behind. He thought the offender had a stronger impact on the crime rather than the victim. Okay, so this is going to come from victimology versus a profiling. That's how I would look at it. If this is clearly what's happening, it's like, right? That's what that's about. It's about how Colbert is saying you need to focus on what the offender left behind more so than victimology to find the killer. And she's saying, no, the victim matters more, and the victimology matters more than what the offender left behind, and basically the BAU. I think that that's just too. I would expect people to have a debate about that. You're going to have that debate for the rest of your lives in this field. I just think that it's like two experts getting on the stand. And one of them has this opinion of a crime scene and the other one has that opinion of the crime scene. Like that's what you're going to school for. I don't understand that. I would expect there to be lots of debates. And so when you're considering debates on things to then be conflicts, I would like to know how, like, when anybody starts arguing about and making it not about the argument and like personal attacks, then yeah, you're a fucking idiot. Like, bye-bye. But positions within topics, I don't think that that's conflict. But if you attack me because of my position, I think you're an absolute moron because you've just now ruined your argument. And I'm going to have to agree with Brian here because whatever he left at the scene, it got him caught, right? Victimology did not get Brian Kober caught. Brian Kober leaving DNA at the scene got him caught. So that's my opinion. And she stated that he thought he was dismissing what she was doing just to argue. Well, yeah, that's what they do. That's what everybody does in that field. But she said that he was dismissive towards women and not men. Which I would point that out to him. So it's like, did you guys say that? I'm just curious if they said this stuff to him, you know? This girl said that it did not cross her mind that Colbert may have been responsible for the Moscow murders. So she said it did not cross her mind. She never even thought that it didn't cross her mind that he was responsible for the murders. Isn't that kind of like interesting? I think it's interesting to see that. Hence why she didn't call the tip line. So she further said that blank had private lockers available to students that could be assigned individually. Oh, I'm sorry. I totally skipped. So back up here, this girl said that Colbert always seemed reclusive. She said he didn't get the hint that she wanted him to leave when he was in her office. That goes with social cues. Like that's autism. She said he had to leave her office in order to get him to leave her office. Okay. He didn't take the hint. You see these words like hint? Why wouldn't you just tell him to leave? I don't get it. Hey, can you please leave? Like you're distracting me. I really need to focus on my work. Like what's wrong with that? What's wrong with telling somebody that? especially if you just don't want somebody around you. Like, I don't know, just whatever happened with just being direct and polite. I don't need to give you a hint. I don't need to give you a clue. I'm going to tell you that I don't want you around me. So, I don't know. I would just think that people in a PhD program, like, you didn't get there because by chance. Like, you got there because you're a go-getter. I don't know. Okay. She said that she thought Kober used the blank. She further stated that the blank had private lockers, WSU had private lockers available to students that could be assigned individually. I later contacted the blank to inquire if Kober had a locker there. They advised he did not. Maybe it's the lab. You know, you could use the blank. So it looks like I feel like contacted the lab. So Brian Kober did not have a locker at the lab. So blank said that, who knows though, it's Mike Van Leeuwen. Who knows if he even fucking called? Who knows what that motherfucker does? Blank said that, so the girl said that she had never met anyone who acted in such a condescending manner and wondered why people in power in the department did not address his behavior. Now that's interesting to me because I thought that they did address his behavior. So is she unaware of that? The way he spoke to females in the department was unsettling to them. Nobody should have to work in a hostile environment. And so, was it a hostile environment? And if she believes that nobody in power did anything, remember I told you guys about that the header that has no Dear Brian, no name attached to it. Hey, these are things that we're going to be working on. There's just some letter that's in his apartment with WSU's header on it. But here, this is our plan. Like, what the fuck is that? That's not how you write up anything. That's insane. The university is just sick, man. Next, in reference to the Moscow homicides, he would say that it was horrible. So he would discuss it. In discussing whether the murderer would be caught, he said maybe it was a one and done type of a thing. That's interesting. She said Kober sometimes discussed the evidence left behind at crimes and how an offender might mitigate against that by wearing gloves. These statements were related to her research work and not specific to the Moscow homicides. Then why would you put it in that sentence? She said he did not discuss vehicles, surveillance, or weapons that could be used, but did talk about the time of day that offenders might choose. Well, if he's interested in burglaries, when do burglaries normally happen? You would think that if you were smart, you'd want to be burglarizing places where people weren't there, not when people were there. Like, the fuck? She talked about how there were conversations about how Kober might be an incel in relation to his Reddit page and his. Okay, she talked about how there were conversations about how. Okay, yeah, exactly, Van Leeuwen. Are these conversations that are happening in the world that happened after the arrest, and she's just relaying that? Or are you going to sit here and tell me that her peeps, these cohorts, had conversations and said that Brian is an incel? You guys, Brian's going all over the Washington, you know, state and into Idaho, and he's going hiking. He's leaving the house. He's going to baseball games. He's taking these pictures. He's going to the different landmarks by himself. He's trying to ask people if they want to go with him and do things. I don't know. Was he trying to make himself seem like he wasn't that? For if when he got caught, they would see all this stuff and talk about it. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that that's crazy. Somebody that's going off and about and doing things. He's never left Pennsylvania, right? Everybody was just hunkered down for COVID, and everybody couldn't wait to like, come on, like get back to like life. Even though hiking wouldn't be something that you kind of would like, you could still do that, social distancing, especially going to the beach. That's what I did. So I don't know. What is up, William? William turned 5 people green. Give it up. Give it up. You know, I was expected to see like, think about this. I was expecting to see in his phone him taking pictures of random women, right? Where he'd be out and about, just like screenshots of weird shit. I don't even know how to explain it, but I would think that what mainstream media is showing us would be found on 99% of people's cell phones. I don't know. That just doesn't, that's not your argument that he's the killer. There's other arguments. The number one argument is that he said he did it. All right. So again, she talked about how there were conversations about how Kober might be an incel in relation to his Reddit page and his confrontation with Blank. Blank said Kober had a bad interaction regarding a front office undergrad staffer named Blank. Blank mentioned problems Blank was having with Kober. Blank said students were told not leave Blank alone with Kober. What? Hearsay, 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 this whole paragraph. Blank said undergraduate students. Blank said undergraduate students, period. What the hell kind of sentence is that? Look at this. Blank said undergraduate students, period. I mean, how does this man have a fucking job? Kober was a TA for a 101 class. Do you know what 101 classes are? Those are like the easiest classes. That's why they're called 101. 3 female students from that class told Blank, I'm guessing this person, that Kober was an awkward guy who would hang around and try to contribute to conversations that he was not a part of. Blank recalled one of these students was named Blank. Blank said no one wanted to talk to Kober or hang around him. Based on how he talks to women and treats women, people in the department thought he was a possible future. Whoa. Whoa. People thought this in the department based on how he talks to women and treats women. People in the department. Like, can you be more specific with who's in the department? Are you talking about people that run the programs? In the department, that is 100% faculty, staff. That is WSU. You're going to sit here and tell me that a student said this in a freaking interview? Where is mainstream media going down to WSU and putting cameras in these people's faces? This is look at this. Van Leeuwen was like, we're not going to redact this. Blank said that she would not have pegged Kober for committing the Moscow homicides. Look at this. Even with her saying this stuff, like, no way would I peg him for the murders, though. Is that mind-blowing? You know what that tells me? That tells me this broad has some logic because she's not logically connecting the dots. Like, she's like, okay, like, yeah, he was, but the question would be like, why? Why didn't you peg him? That's the question. Okay, so I have a question to ask you. You're saying that you would never peg him for this. Why? But you're saying that he's all these things. So, like, why? Like, put reverse psychology. She's all about victims. So ask her the question, like, well, if he's all against women and here this was a house full of women, maybe he wasn't planning for the boy to be there, but stabbings a bunch of times, wouldn't that show you like rage towards women? Like, what do you mean? You just thought that he was a prick, not a killer? Why would you never peg him for it? That's what would interest me, is the why behind why she wouldn't peg him for that. Maybe she'd say, well, he's a pussy. He's all talk. This interview was audio recorded, and there's nothing further. Nothing further, Your Honor. So then you go to, again, I was trying to keep these in a straight different order. Where is this one? Okay. All right, 151. Remember that this is the same guy that is doing this interview that interviewed Jennifer Drake, and nothing to see there. Meanwhile, she's just lying. Like, and he can't sniff it out. You have her cell right. You can't even sniff it out. There's no 911 call made to Kootenai County, you dumb fuck. But she made a call 911, well, at her home in Hayden, which directs you to Kootenai County. There is no 911 call registered to the dispatch center. It originates in a different county. How do you explain that? Well, because she wasn't in Kootenai County when she made the 911 call. That's how you explain that. Now, here we go. Jacob wrote this report. During the month of January, we were conducting multiple interviews at the University of, Washington State University. So here we go. He was working with Detective Ryan O'Hara. And this girl worked at WSU since blank. Her contract with WSU is for blank. She teaches 2 classes in the fall semester and 2 classes in the spring semester. So she was there for just 2 classes. You guys, you're hardly there if you teach 2 classes. If you know anything about college, that could be potentially just 2 hours. Her contact and only contact with Brian Kober was at school designated events. She first met him at school orientation. Nothing stood out about him. She met and interacted with him at a second event during October or November of 2022, a night out at the bar with graduate students. Now, I'm sorry, how could you not actually pinpoint down this exact date? I think it's important, and I would think that this person would be able to figure out when that event was. Come on. You guys don't have events every day. All right? Look through your shit. Look through your text messages. and figure out when you would have told somebody, oh, hey, I got to go to that thing. Okay. Or like these people that are, I'm sure they have Google calendars. I would want to know specifically when this was. And I would ask whoever I was interviewing, hey, can you look through your shit? I want to know when that was. Because what if it was at a restaurant or a bar, you could go to those restaurants or bars and ask them for the fucking video footage. And you could see how he's interacting if he was doing anything fucking whack. You guys, the way that technology is, these video surveillances in bars, you have them for more than just 24 hours or a week or even a month. You're trying to build a case against somebody. Don't you think that that'd be really important? It's either these people are lazy or they're not trained or they shouldn't be doing this job because they don't have instincts in it. Like they just don't get it. Your dick. Next. Kober asked her about her research interests and how it was practicing blank. None of their areas of interest in law overlapped. As faculty, they discussed grad students. Prior to going on break, Kober was one of the main people of conversation. So she has personal knowledge of this. This would be something that you really want to hone in on. Specifically, his behavior around women. He was aggressive towards women. Okay, well, the girl that I just read said condescending. Aggressive is a different adjective. Aggressive towards women and made them feel uncomfortable. The faculty discussed how they could intervene. What do you mean, how? You guys, are any of these people adults? What the hell are you talking about? How? How did you intervene when somebody was in third grade? When kids touch other kids with their hands and you're not supposed to put hands on people, right? Hey, there is no touching other students. Okay. What do you mean? How did you intervene? You communicate, you talk to them, you explain it. What does there need to be some big hoopla about? I mean, does the world not know how to communicate? Stupid. How they could intervene. Why didn't they do mediation? Blank, blank, another teacher came to her and complained about one of his TAs. No names were brought up, but it was regarding a TA making women uncomfortable. She recommended he document the issues in writing. Again, nobody talks to him. Kober was respectful during her conversations with him. So there's her. Look at this. So she's like, he didn't do it to me. I'm a woman. Now, granted, though, she's only there, 2 classes. On January 13th, I conducted another interview with blank, blank, blank at Moscow Department. Blank is a business consultant. Oh, we've already done this one. This is a person that was like, it was about going to the pool. Now, this one. On January 17th, so 3 weeks later after the arrest, they conducted another interview with this person at blank Pullman. Blank works at blank in the blank at the student. So this is in the lab. I'm guessing it's the lab at the blank and is a student in psychology program. The following is a summary of the interview. Anytime that they write that and say reference the audio, you really need to do that. When they make it a point to say that, you need to listen to the audio. She saw Kober, so it's a girl. She saw Kober every day during the semester at the cafe, always near closing time. So he had a routine. he had a routine. So he would go to the cafe at closing time. I'd be like, okay, yeah, what days did you work? You're trying to get everything about him. When did you normally work? Things like that. And sometimes over the summer prior to school starting. So he used the cafe in July and August before school started at the end of August. He liked to talk specifically with her. That's normally what we do as humans. We don't go and talk to people that we don't want to talk to. So he wanted to talk to her. She believes he told her his name was blank. I would love to know what that name is. My name is Ryan. He would ask her questions about her school program and psychology. He asked about the psychological assessments she was learning about, but she told him she wasn't interested in that area of study. Okay. Her friend blank was at the register once when Kohlberg came in and asked, or when Kohlberg came in and he asked for blank by name. She was certain she never told Kohlberg her name. So you think that Brian was just like, hey, my name is so and so, and didn't ask, what's your name? Like right in here. She believes he told her his name was blank. Oh, hey, my name's Brian, by the way. Ciao. That's awkward. I would just be saying things like, I would think that he'd be saying he'd want to know her name, so he would ask her name, right? I just think that Brian would be that person to be like, oh, hey, what's your name? How long have you worked here? Do you like working here? Do you make good money working here? Like, you guys know people that are like that. I'm just like, God, this person has so many questions. Think about when you're a bartender, you're just like, fucking shoot me right now. I do not want to hear about your fucking problems because you have weird ones. All right, so where were we? But she's like, I did not give him my name, so I have no idea how he knows my name. Also, when you're at work, people will call your name out like, hey, Pam, can you come over here and get this customer? I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, that's how he found out. Jeez. But hey, she doesn't wear a name tag and she did not give it to him. So she's like, what the fuck? She was certain she never told Kohlberger her name and she does not wear a name tag. She was unaware how he knew her name. It seemed to her that Brian knew what hours she worked and made remarks about her hours. Yeah. Like what? Like, oh, what time do you work till? What time is this place? Oh, do you always work till close? I mean, I don't know. I think that I guess you can turn anything. Yep, that person's trying to get your schedule so they can stalk you. Or it's just like you ask, like, I mean, what do you want them to ask you? Like, so Cobra would come in with a female. First time we're going to hear this, a female blank and blank. She doesn't know her name. She asked Kober's female friend where she was from. The female told her to guess. She guessed blank, and Kober remarked to the female, see, I told you she was smart. Now, what I think is interesting about that comment is I thought that Kober thinks that women are fucking dumb and they need to be in the kitchen, you know? So then this is kind of like contradicting that when it's like, see, I told you she was smart. But it also can go on the line of, hey, I got to have a smart girl because I'm smart. I got to have somebody that's on the same intellectual capacity as me. Oh, see, told you she was smart. I don't. But I would expect, oh, see, she's not like those other dumb broads in my fucking cohort class that are my cohorts. Like, so. See, told you she was smart. The statement seemed weird to her because she didn't think much of Kohlberger, but it seemed like he had been talking to the female about her. I mean, has this girl never had anybody ever interested in her? Yeah, that's exactly what it would be. Like, this person's interested in you. He thinks you're cute, whatever. Like, but that, I wouldn't think that that's weird. Like again, these are reaches for me. But again, it doesn't mean that he's not guilty, but it's just like, this isn't your argument. And God forbid somebody calls me smart and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck? Get the fuck away from me, man. You know, I'm flattered you're talking about me and you clearly are interested, but hey, I just want to let you know I'm dating somebody, but I am flattered. Thanks so much. It's I see, what would be weird to me is if I'm this girl and then like after I would get off of work and I would go to, let's say, Joe's bar, and an hour later Brian would just show up there and I'd be like, okay, dude, what the fuck? And then like I would go somewhere else and he would just like show up there. Like that type of shit. I'd be like, okay, yeah. You're like, that to me would be weird. Especially if I went home first, right? Showered, changed, and then met my friends out at Joe's. You know, it's like, and it would happen on more than one occasion. Yeah, that's somebody that's following you. Um, she was always uninterested in talking with him, and she would try to walk away, but he would just keep talking. God, that sounds like every day at the bar. You know, as a bartender, they're fucking sitting at the bar. She told the coworker blank she was uncomfortable around blank and told this person that, or I'm sorry, and blank would let her know when he came in so she could avoid him. So they would use like what? Earpieces? Oh my God. Stage 5 cleaners here. Go to the bathroom, hurry up. And then there's just a simple question. Did you report him? No. Why not? I don't know. Have you ever reported anybody in your life? Like this. Ugh. I wouldn't want to be that witness on the witness stand. She lives in blank and Pullman. There were a few times weird things happened around that time. And then when I found out that she has a husband, I'm like, dude, why didn't your husband go in there and jack a motherfucker? Let me tell you, the day I would tell my significant other something like this, and the day that they didn't get rowdy on a motherfucker, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, and then probably once they did get a little rowdy, I'd be like, what are you doing? But it's like, I don't know. Someone should have punched him in the face. Like, what are you doing? Why do you keep showing up when my woman is working at closing hours? You're making her really fucking uncomfortable. Do I need to fucking handle this? You need to step outside? Your nose is already crooked as fuck. You want me to fix that fucking face? And just pound him. You know? So I just would think, I think it would be interesting to interview the husband here and to say, hey, did your wife ever come home talking about him? You know, that would be my next interview. Another time after she had started working at blank, she heard someone moving around on her porch at approximately 7 in the evening. Her husband came home again and saw a white car leaving the area. Both occurrences were in August or September. Yeah, I'd want to hear more about that, you know. Hey, do you guys have cameras? There you go. Do you guys have cameras? 151. Does it say nothing further by Van Leuven? No, it's not his report. That's why. Okay. Next up. Well, this is a teacher, I believe. On the 30th. And so on December 30th, Van Leuven was at the Moscow Police Department, and they interviewed, well, prior to this person, I guess, yeah, Jess was with him. So prior to becoming blank at blank, this person worked as a blank at Whitman County in Washington State. He, blank, he began working for blank in the late 1990s. So you can age him. In 2015, he began splitting full-time between the government studies and services and whatever he was doing. In 2018 or 2019, he came to blank WSU full-time in blank capacity. I mean, again, I don't understand why all this has to be fucking redacted. This person knew Culber was going to be one of his blanks. Hold on one second. Oh, somebody sent me something. Thank you guys so much. Whoever sent me a little package. Look at you cuties out there. Cuties with the big booties. Big booty Judies out there. Okay, sorry, back. Okay. All right, here we go. So this person knew that Culber was going to be one of his blank in June or July of 2022. He didn't meet Culber in person until August. Culber was an incoming PhD student in the department. There you go. The word department. So department can be equal WSU. He knew Culber was from a small private school back east. Blank said that Culber seemed sharp and personable enough, in quotes, when he first met him. Personable enough. Blank had not read Culber's master's dissertation. This person had no part in Culber's acceptance. That's all people care about. Hey, I didn't accept him into this program, goddammit. Okay, so, but this guy's like, it was not me. I did not accept him into the PhD program, or that he was going to be assigned to Culber as probably like a mentor. Okay. I asked blank about a couple of instances of unprofessional behavior associated with Culber that I had read in a letter from the faculty advising Culber that he had lost his TA position. Okay. Where was this letter at? Now, so this is the research I've been doing. A little bit of background here. Where was this letter at? Was this letter found in Pennsylvania? Was this letter found in his apartment? Because I think we can all say that the letter was not in his apartment, right? Where was this letter found that he read? What kind of information can you get from WSU? Hey, we just arrested some guy. Here's a subpoena. Like, I think that somebody should come out and talk about that. But WSU won't come out and talk about shit. William's like, where's the sheath? William cracked me up. So that I want to talk to somebody about that. Remember, we have Mike Van Leeuwen writing this report, and look at how he writes Mr. Just love it. I wonder if he named his cat Mr. like that. So Blank said the first incident that occurred with Mr. Kohlberger was a time when Blank was in his office and was wanting to leave to go home. This was a Friday. Mr. Kohlberger showed up. That son of a bitch showed up at the end of the day and wanted to talk. Mr. Kohlberger said it was pretty clear that he wanted to leave. So this is a dude. And that Kohlberger just wanted to talk. And that Kohlberger would just show up late in the day and want to talk. This was not the first time this had happened with Mr. Kohlberger. He would just show up late and want to talk. Blank said said that this behavior had bothered him for a while. What? You guys, what? Somebody showing up to your office wanting to talk? That's what this incident's about? It's a guy, by the way. And I'm so sorry, but this guy's older. Why wouldn't you tell him, you cannot be coming to my office. I leave at 5. Okay. Come here at 4. Come here at 4:30. Come here at 4:55, but I am leaving at 5 o'clock. Do you understand that? I have shit to do, Brian. But even if he still came there, this is odd behavior. I'm so confused because what do you think PhD nerd students fucking do, man, on Fridays? School. Morning, noon, and night. Think he's at happy hour? I would be thinking it was weird if Brian Cover was asking me to go to a strip club. If that's what I was expecting to see, Now that he wants to come here and talk about fucking, I don't know, psychology. Jeez. Like what? I would just expect something different. I was expecting to read something different. I'm like, wait, he's mad that he came to talk to him? What the fuck is going on? Okay, so like Mr. Kohlberger, you better not come to me on Fridays, okay? He said that this behavior had bothered him for a while. Blank said that he would typically have his 40 hours in by the end of Thursday and did not want to work late on Fridays and resented it when Kohlberger would show up to talk on Fridays. Are you fucking kidding me? I think the university should fire your fucking ass. That's what I think. This is even in print. God forbid that you have to fucking work. God forbid. I mean, that you don't know how to tell somebody, hey, gotta go. See you later. And just walk out. That, you guys, how does that even bother you? I would be working, and if somebody can, yep, sorry, gotta go. And it wouldn't bother me. I would just leave. I would have no sweat on my fucking titties, nothing. I just leave. It wouldn't even be a thought in my mind. Like all of my professors and the TAs, when we would show up and the door is closed, you're not getting in, they've left for the day. The university has taken responsibility for absolutely nothing, right? Leave, lock up, peace. It's just crazy. Like these people don't know how, like you don't know how to communicate. Yet they have PhDs and they're teaching PhD students. Stellar. Keep it up. Way to go, WSU. But I asked him what Colbert would want to talk about. This person said, nothing in particular. Then tell him to piss up a tree, you're leaving. And that there was nothing remarkable about any of the conversations. This person said some of the subjects that were discussed in the past involved how to brief a case or how to deal with plagiarism or also just general recreation activities on the Palouse. Oh my God, imagine that. After 10 to 20 minutes, there was an exchange that perturbed. Look at Van Leeuwen's words. That perturbed him, where Colbert wouldn't get to the point and let blank go home. You guys know Colbert doesn't keep anybody hostage. I just, what's wrong with this man? That he would, oh my God, I was so perturbed this one time. He just wouldn't get to the point about his stupid fucking story. And he wouldn't let me go home. Really? Were you handcuffed? Tied down? At one point, Colbert told blank that he was snarky. Hey, you're being really snarky. Blank became tired and frustrated and told Colbert to leave his office, and he did not. He didn't leave and call security. Blank got up and walked out of his office. He said Colbert followed him out of his office and continued talking to him about what? Call security. Security. Blank said that he walked down the hall to the main office where he knew Colbert had some run-ins with others. He knew. What are run-ins? After, why did he go down to the main office? What do you think was going to happen? Oh, I'm going to stand over here by people that don't like you and point out that you're weird. Like, look at this guy. He's following me everywhere. I just don't even get it. After several late afternoon or evening encounters, blank wasn't sure if Colbert was trying to curry favor or whether he was trying to control blank's time. Are you kidding? Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's trying to control you. Dude, these people are in this field of psychology. They suck. They suck. They absolutely suck at their jobs. Lana, I think WSU needs me and you to go show all these people what having basketball and soccer actually looks like. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, maybe this is horrible. Like, you guys, I was what? How would this go down on the stand? Professor Snyder, thank you for being here. Okay. We're going to ask you some questions. Like, oh, sure, go ahead. Oh, sure. Okay. At some point, blank concluded Colbert was power tripping, and by using blank time, preventing him from leaving his office was a way of controlling him. That's his assessment of the situation. Blank advised that he had over 8 blank in the past, and he had never had a problem with any of them. So he's had over 8, whatever these people are. I don't know. But he's considering this a problem. somebody showing up late and wanting to talk to me, that nobody's ever done this before. Okay, well, have you had any of these people that he is to you? Have they ever been autistic? I'm just curious. Like, is this that? You know, you're the big psychology guy. You're the big PhD guy. You know, I'm not. So if you were told that he had autism, would that change your opinion about any of this? Just curious. Blank talked about Colbert walking and talking with him as Blank. Blank walked to his car. Blank remembered Colbert bragging about outsmarting the parking regulations on campus. The fuck he did! Outsmarting 7 tickets. You ain't smart nobody. Well, maybe because he didn't get a boot on his car. I don't know. What do you mean outsmarting? Did he not have to pay for the tickets? He had 7 tickets. He didn't outsmart nobody. Yeah, fucking Brian Colbert, a liar. Brian, you're a liar. You're a little liar. You little liar. Brian, come on now. I saw your 7 tickets. He was bragging about outsmarting the parking regulations on campus. Can you be more specific about that, Mr. Snyder? Professor Snyder? What do you mean when he was outsmarting them? Did he tell you he racked up 7 tickets and he would get them like almost weekly? $60 a pop? Blank talked about difficulty in getting Colbert to complete his tasks as a teaching assistant. Now that interests me. What are his tasks? Blank said he had been advised by department higher ups to be more direct. Oh my God, imagine that. In making his exceptions or expectations clear to Colbert. Imagine that. You have to be direct with somebody. You can't just leave clues around like it's Blue's Clues. You got to actually tell them what you want, you know? And when they don't do it, out of here. I mean, what a little puss department. I mean, wow. Wow. We got mother and father, baby and Kohlberger, and now we got WSU, baby and Kohlberger. And number 8 here, Blank advised Kohlberger's behavior didn't really change from the time before the homicides or after the homicides. He's just always been a fucking asshole. Blank said he never received any direct complaints about Kohlberger interacting with any of the undergraduate students in his capacity as a teaching assistant. So doesn't this kind of just like blow up the narrative of the guy that went to the bar and was talking about their TA at the bar to the bartenders? Doesn't this narrative blow that up? I mean, think about this. When you come into a bar and you order whatever it is that you want to drink, okay? Order what you want to drink or you're not getting that to drink, okay? Oh, I don't know what I should get. What do you think I should get? What's good? What's good on the menu? What should I get? Oh, well, what do I like? I mean, I have no idea what the fuck you like, but what do you mean what's good on the menu? What's good to me? What a lot of people order? Well, what do you want me to answer? Okay, well, what I get, go get the Jameson and ginger ale. That's what I drink. Do you, oh God, no, I need something fruity. Okay, have a fucking, I don't know, strawberry daiquiri. How about a vodka soda splash of cranberry? Yeah, I'll give me that. Okay. Go give it to him. This does not taste good. Maybe it's your taste buds. This just doesn't taste good. But what can I get you? I have no idea. Nothing. You know, make me a shot. Okay, what kind of shot? Oh, I don't know. Surprise me. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to surprise you. I just surprised you and you didn't like it. Now you want me to surprise you again? No. Tell me what you want or get the fuck out of my bar stool because you're costing me money. Lana, you didn't really treat people like that. I did it charming, though. I was charming about it. I was like, oh, you're one of these people. Okay, well, how about this? If you have all day to be here, when I come to you, but I'm not going to keep running back over here for you to ask me questions about what you should get. But when you are ready to order, you let me know. Okay, god damn. You guys know. Don't act like you don't know. Lana, I can't breathe. Oh yeah. Get ready for an ab workout. I just can't with this. Like this is ridiculous. Blank further advised the female grad students didn't like Culver because he was that off-putting. Blank said, we should talk to a female front office staffer who was an undergrad student working on a work study program who had made complaints about Culver's behavior. Blank advised that he had secondhand information that he had made several of the female PhD students very uncomfortable because of interactions they had with Culver. Okay. I asked Blank about which grad students we may want to interview that may have had a problem with Mr. Koberger. Blank advised that there were 2 students from Blank. He said they were fellow PhD students named Blank, last name not said, later identified as Blank, and blank, 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 blank. Further, blank, blank advised that we should speak with faculty members, blank, blank, and blank, who was the blank of grad students. I asked Blank if he had ever socialized with Culver. Blank advised that he had. God, the day I hang out with people I do not like. He had attended a mixer. Get the fuck mixer. Catalina wine mixer, here we come. At Blank, where 20 to 25 people from the department attended. Blank Blank was accompanied by his wife, and he recalled nothing unusual during that mixer. Blank Blank, this person, talked about the process by which Mr. Culver's behavior eventually led to his removal as a teaching assistant. So Blank Blank advised he initially supported Culver until after a second event that Blank Blank could not remember the details of. Are you serious? You guys, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean you cannot remember? You cannot remember. This is why somebody was fired. Okay? Fired. You cannot remember the second event why somebody was fired? I'm a Pisces. Somebody said I was, Lana must be an Aries. I'm a Pisces, but I'm on the cusp. I'm a big dreamer. I'm a believer. This is crazy to me. How do you not know? How do you not remember? I mean, what got this motherfucker fired? Blank advised that Culver's removal was a result of cumulative effect of his behavior. Well, cumulative effect of his behavior, documentation is the key then. Okay, you want to document. Document, you know. After the homicides occurred, Blank Blank said he did consider the possibility that Culver had committed murders. Are you serious? After. So it's after the homicides occurred. So after the homicides occurred, this man is saying, I thought it could potentially be Brian Culver, and yet this man never put in a tip, and he's in the field that he's in. Do you see the dude retire or quit? Okay. There would be no, what happens if you give a tip and it's not accurate? Nothing's going to happen. You're just providing a tip. No, y'all are full of fucking shit, lying ass motherfuckers. Okay. You just don't want to admit that you suck at your job and that you can't sniff out some used panties. Okay. That's the truth. Because if all of this is true, right? And you're one person's going to be saying we could give him a PhD and he's going to be a rapist. The murders happen. He hates women. He's in this PhD program. He has a career, and you don't think to call the tip line, then you guys are just not good at your jobs. This isn't the field for you. Okay? Sorry, but it's just how I feel. And you guys are horrible communicators. See something, say something. Blank blank characterized this as a fleeting thought. What? What? Blank blank considered Kober's power tripping, controlling tendencies in addition to being socially challenged. Blank blank advised Kober had alienated or irritated several female PhD students as well as at least one female professor with his behavior. Blank blank said Kober never discussed knives or edged weapons. We asked Blank about a survey Kober had conducted with persons who had committed crimes. Blank said that he was unaware of this and that we should contact Blank, the staffer, about Kober's PhD activities. Blank blank talks about a conversation he had with Kober early on where they discussed the idea of sexual harassment. Blank blank knew that Kober had alienated himself from the female grad students by this time. This included 6 or 7 women. 6 or 7 women are sexual harassment. You guys, sexual harassment is no joke. Like, but do we know what the definition of sexual harassment is? Everybody wants to say that they had this meeting or this, I don't know, what do they call it? We had somebody from compliance come in and talk about sexual harassment. Maybe it's because people needed to understand what the definition is. What is sexual harassment? 6 or 7 women? Dude, WSU is looking dead down a pipe for a lawsuit. Does WSU understand that? Let me just put it to you guys like this. If he was an athlete on a scholarship, okay, and these complaints would have happened, there would have been an investigation, okay? He would have been suspended until the investigation was concluded, all right? You could appeal the suspension and potentially still play during the suspension. It would depend on how that all would work, but there is definitely going to be an investigation into, because if you are receiving money from the university, okay, why isn't it treated the same way that athletes would be treated? You would be kicked out of school. You would lose your scholarship. You would lose your housing. You're out. Okay. You don't get some letter that's not dated, that has nothing on it, not signed, and saying, hey, these are the things that we're going to work on. What? Sorry, you just don't. So, also, I've always said this. Anybody that's a college student that's receiving any type of whether it's, if you're getting a scholarship in any capacity, you should have to maintain your certain GPA, just like an athlete would. But also, guess what athletes have to do? We had to be drug tested all the time, or could potentially be drug tested at any, randomly. How come that wouldn't be the same for anybody that would be receiving a scholarship from the university, that they do not have to keep, like, well, obviously, if you're getting an academic one, you're going to have your grades. We got to go to study tables and shit like that. We have to do all this community service hours, okay, to keep our scholarship, because it's part of what we do with the program. All right. We can't have jobs. This was back in the day. Now some stuff obviously has changed because it's the NIL. All right. But back in the day, I always said, wait, that person's on a full ride just like me. I have to be potentially drug tested, but they don't. I was like, that's fucking bullshit. I said, why? I said, we're both representing the school. We should both have to be in good conduct with our behavior. We shouldn't be doing drugs, right? And I wrote a big paper about it. Like, what the fuck? Standards, you guys, standards. A scholarship's a scholarship, right? The school's paying for you. If you're going to drug test me and I could potentially lose my scholarship because I didn't pass your stupid drug test, right? Then why does that person not get drug tested and they can just smoke weed, drink, do whatever else, and nothing to see here? I was like, that's absolute bullshit. So that needed to change. It's kind of like the same thing here. I can just promise you this, that if we would have had complaints like this as an athlete, if you go to a school that's going to hide stuff and going to fluff it over, you bet your bottom dollar that once something like this would happen and it made national news and the person that committed these crimes, you guys covered for and all this shit, what do you think would happen in the university? They're going to get sued. They should get sued. I think WSU should get sued. And all these people that are in this ISP discovery, they're all witnesses. Are they going to change their story now to cover for the university? They're going to go against what they told the FBI, which if you lie to an FBI agent, that's against the law. And FBI agents were with Idaho State police people when these interviews were being conducted. With what mainstream media is pumping out to the world, WSU should be very, very scared. Just my take. Going back at it over here. I mean, right here, sexual harassment. What the fuck? That's totally different than me and you having a difference of opinion on how to go and basically investigate a crime in my class. And then just because I want to argue with you, and even if I am condescending, okay, that's not sexual harassment. So what's the definition of sexual harassment? Blank Blank knew that Kober had alienated himself from the female grad students by this time. This includes 6 or 7 women. Kober came up with a line of thought where he said, what if Kober had heard about blank behaving inappropriately with women, and what would blank do to defend himself against a false allegation? Blank found this line of thought to be troubling and thought Kober was trying to put himself in a position of power. Now that right there is so interesting to me, because that's exactly what Brian Drake, who becomes a victim to gun violence where he's shot in his office, those are the exact words that he said to one of his patients. Okay. He said that, hey, since you live around here, if I ever needed to call you because, and he tried to pull it off that these women were like throwing themselves at him and, oh my God, like, I could find myself if these women wanted to say that I did something to them that I didn't, like, there's nobody here to, like, it's going to be my word and their word. And the answer that this patient gave was, why don't you have somebody here, like a front desk type thing? And he said, oh, I can't afford that. Let those words, I can't afford that, sink in. I can't afford that. I can't afford that. So your business sucks, number one, because you can't afford to pay a secretary or whatever you want to call them, a manager, office manager. And yet you're over here saying and trying to get in front of women, saying and accusing you and falsely accusing you of what would be, some sexual acts or inappropriate sexual touching. Crazy. He was shot, killed. A meth dealer was calling him just minutes after, and the Mike Van Leuven said that he was shot and killed over patience, that he was just stealing everybody's patience, and he was doing and had such a great business. Yeah. Coming from the man that's saying that he can't afford to have somebody in his office to make sure that everything, is on the up and up. Sorry, but when you get the motive wrong, you're going to get the person wrong. That's the only time that motive matters. And Mike Van Leuven here, author of these reports, said that Brian Drake was killed over patience. That people wanted to come see him versus go see other people. And that's why he was shot through a window and hit perfectly through a closed blind window while his wife was on the phone with him. Yeah. Patience. Meanwhile, a local meth dealer who lives in the next 45 minutes away is on the same cell tower calling his phone, not once, but twice. And Brian Drake had nothing but debris on his back, like he was outside, getting shoved up against the fence in a shed and possibly on the ground. And he carried in the dirt that was all over his back. And he was laying on the ground in his office, and he was sitting on a stool like the chiropractors do. And they didn't take the stool into evidence to see how tall the stool was off the ground, to see how tall he would have been sitting on it, where his back was. Because if they would have actually done that type of work in that case, they would have realized that it is impossible for Brian Drake to get hit sitting up against the wall where the window was. It would have been a headshot. It's impossible for him to get hit where he got hit if he was sitting on a stool, finishing up paperwork, talking to his wife on the phone. Absolutely crazy. Brian Drake had his phone in his hand and he doesn't call 911. Brian Drake was incapacitated within just seconds to be rendered unconscious. Like, what? Patience. I could see if that's the motive, then yeah, you would be looking for other chiropractors. But if that's not the motive, then you're in the wrong area. But that's Idaho State Police for you. And they covered up a big old drug issue over there in Bonner County, Bonners Ferry, Boundary County, and it's a pipeline right across to Canada. Right after his murder, he was murdered in March of 2020. In October of 2020, in that area with the help of the Border Patrol, they had the biggest drug raid takedown, like millions of dollars, duffel bags of drugs. And poof, this big takedown, you can't even, it's like it went off the face of the earth. Like nothing came from it. Like, who were the people that did it? How is this getting prosecuted? Nothing. And Brian Drake lived right by where Kaylee and Maddie lived. He's from like over there living in Hayden. And he would drive that 95 and have patients in Bonners Ferry, Sandpoint, and Coeur d'Alene and Hayden. Brian Drake was, they were involved with the church. And yeah. But that's how that was investigated. And when you get it wrong like that, you're going to have the wrong suspect. I have a bunch of coverage on that case. So if you want to check it out, it's Brian Drake, Dan Moore. It's the chiropractic killings. And it defines, if you want to see how the Idaho State Police operate, Mike Van Leuven was the lead investigator. And he is literally, I mean, you can't have I guess you can't be both. He is either inept and dumb and corrupt all in one, or he's one or the other. Like I said, he could be all of it. And Gary Tolson was his sidekick. Leslie Lehman, Rich Alderson, John Kempf, all these people that are in these reports. Brittany Clark, absolutely fucking unbelievable. It's the same people that are in these reports. You don't get better overnight. So going back to this and this lovely writing here, so here Brian Kober comes to him and says, basically, hey, I think that these girls are going to set me up for a potential sexual harassment, like for either to get me fired or sue me, and I didn't do anything. Or what would I do? How do I just need to stay fuck away from these people, right? You're telling me that somebody came to you talking like this and you didn't do anything about it? Like, think about this. Who the fuck comes to people? This would be like something that doesn't happen every day, something that rarely happens, right? And when it would happen, you'd be like, what the hell's going on? Like, you would need to talk about that. You would need to report that. You would need to do something about it. Like, what the hell? This is crazy. Blank said that he did not remember any physical injuries. You don't hone more in? Like, this is Van Leuven. Why aren't you talking more about this? Wait, what do you mean he came to you and wanted to ask you, can you explain this a little bit more? And maybe it is on the recording and this is all he wants to type about it. But this is really important. That's like you being a teacher and a kid comes to you and wants to talk to you about a hypothetical situation at home. And you just ignore it? No, you don't just ignore it. You're an automatic reporter. These people are sick. Remember, this is the guy that couldn't be bothered, though, to stay. He already got his 40 hours in before Thursday. I'm not doing anything extra. These people need to fucking go. Okay? If you're working with students and you're at a school, I don't care if it's a kindergarten or in a college, this punching in a clock, a timesheet, and punching out, go work at fucking Burger King, bitch. Punch in, punch out. Flip some fucking burgers, put it in the microwave, and here you go. Here you go. Oh, 3 o'clock, I get to leave. To be in this field, have it your way, baby. Yeah. This is embarrassing for the university. And I just can't believe that mainstream media is not down there shoving cameras in people's faces and saying, like, hello. What was Brian's trigger? Anybody asked that question? Brian's the killer, right? He just decided, like, now's the time, and I'm not going to kill these 6 or 7 girls here. I'm going to go kill people that I've never met before and just take out all my anger and rage on these girls and Ethan because he was collateral damage because he was there. What would be the trigger? I think we're getting into Triggerland right here. What would make somebody snap? How about this? Why wasn't the WSU letterhead that had "this is the plan"? Why wasn't that dated? Why wasn't it signed? Was it originally? The university had access to his apartment after he left. And that didn't get into until what, December 30th? So from the time he left and his name would have been, you're going to sit here and tell me that nobody went into that apartment? Could somebody have went into that apartment? Sure. Fuck yeah, they could have. But why would anybody need to do that? Why would anybody do that? Well, the university would have a lot of reasons to do it. They would, if they were shit in that apartment that, hey, that would make them look bad. You'd want to get that shit out of there. I still can't find where are these letters that you're fired and that it happened before he was arrested, and where are those letters? Like, everything I see is like after the fact, like after they knew like his name. Like, they gave WSU a chance to get in front of this. You guys understand that yet? Did they fire him after he got arrested, or did they fire him before? And then before what? Did they fire him in November? Did they fire him in December? Did they fire him after the name was given? Because we need to get our ducks in a row here so that we aren't going to be able to be sued and liable and negligent and all this crazy shit. I'd like to know that timeline. WSU knows what's coming, and it should come based off of these reports. Again, I just cannot believe that somebody would have came to me and told me about this, and I'm just gonna be like, yeah, nothing. Blank said that he did not remember any physical injuries viable on Kober after the homicides occur. This conversation was recorded. This recording was later provided to the Moscow Police Department to be placed into evidence. On January 3rd, we spoke again with this person via telephone. Why was it imperative that you called this person back? They rarely did that. Okay. Now they called him, and Blank advised that after thinking more about Kohlberger, he considered the issue about whether Kohlberger was power tripping or just socially inept. Okay, so listen to this. On January 3rd, this person, a Sergeant Stinnett, and I again spoke with. Why did you speak with him? What kind of report is this? Did he call you because he's like, I have more information, or did you call him? Van Leuven, you are just horrible, because that would matter on who called who. Again, this person advised that for thinking more about Kohlberger, he considered the issue about whether Kohlberger was power tripping or just socially inept. He considered that it didn't matter. Blank talked about having coffee with a female staffer named Blank, had concluded that Kohlberger was power tripping. So after he talked, he considered that didn't matter because he talked about having coffee with a female staffer. What? What does that even mean? Blank said that he thought she was right on her opinion. So he's now saying, now Van Leeuwen's saying, hey, these two people that knew Kohlberger had coffee, and that this guy's just reporting, hey, after I talked to so and so, I think that she's right in whatever her opinion is. What? And these people say that they're in this, like, what did you need somebody else's opinion for you to have an opinion? Blank said Kohlberger told him that Kohlberger lived near to where Blank would park while at work. Blank said he found that odd because after Kohlberger was arrested and the media reported where Kohlberger lived, Blank advised that the building depicted by the media as Kohlberger's residence was completely different than the one Kohlberger had indicated to Blank. You guys, that is wild right there. Where did Brian say he lived to this dude? And wouldn't you inquire more about that? Was a bartender. Can I confirm? That's annoying. Yes, Chancey, isn't it? Oh. WSU needs to change their mascot. Probably. Been bothering me. Spicy Kitten, what's good? Sorry, I missed this DoorDash Borg. I'm a doctoral student, can confirm that this is wild. Chancey's like, I can confirm this is crazy now. Speedy, what's up? Speedy Bird gifted one to the Transparency membership. Thank you. It matters. Brian was smarter than they thought and saw what they were doing, says Jennifer. Or at least that's what he felt. You know what I mean? William, good morning to you. Cindy says these poorly done reports make me want to scream. Yeah. Yeah. As a parent, or if you're on the opposite end as a defendant, and this is what the reports are, and this is the work that you did. And you guys, the fat ass had fucking all day to write these reports because he didn't write these reports up until, March 30th. Like, take your time, big guy. Go ahead. Mind blowing. When you're getting paid six figures and deep into it, we need to be critical, guys. We need to be critical because I'm sorry, but without Othram, right? This is why I'm like really pounding this down into people's heads. Without Othram, this case is still unsolved to this day. This case is not, even if you were to arrest somebody, prosecuting this case, and this is why. This is the type of work. This is the type of work. Let's go back to this. Uh-oh. Okay. If Brian Kohlberger is telling somebody else that he lived in a different area, look at this is Van Leeuwen. Not even interested. Van Leeuwen, did you see the apartment? What if Brian Kohlberger had two places that he lived at, you fucking idiot? And there was stuff actually at this other place. I mean, again, wild. wild that you would not say, oh, where did you think he lived? Where did he tell you this was at? Hey guys, we might want to look into this. You know, Culver may have slipped up and told somebody where he really was, this other place that he was staying. And I mean, I don't know. Or maybe, this guy's just so confused. It's just, as an investigator, that would pique your interest, or it should, and it didn't. And that tells me you suck. Blank also wanted to make it known that he was willing to assist the Latah County prosecutor in this case as he could be of service. Why? I mean, didn't he already know that? That's why you called back. What? I asked Blank about Culber's research work. Blank advised we follow up with the program director how oversaw Culber's research. Great job. This conversation was recorded and placed on a disc. That's all it was. On January 11, 2023, FBI Special Agent Mark Zahawazowski, I don't know, and I spoke with Blank at Blank. Blank advised he had spoken with people in the blank about the incident. So this is again, January 3rd, January 11th, March 30th. Specifically, he had spoken with Blank. Blank had reminded Blank about a test question regarding. So all of this that he's doing is he's just going back and just saying what these other people are telling him. This guy couldn't be bothered. This is about that test question. It was like, how damn dare Brian Culber use this type of language in a test question? It would be triggering to many students. Blank advised the language was dismissive of the victims. Blank gave me a printout of his original question and the revised question Culber had. Well, so he didn't even know about this. He totally forgot about this. This just slipped his mind. It was in his class that Brian TA'd for. And somebody reminded him, oh God, yeah, that's, I mean, are you failing at your memory? I mean, this is what this guy does for a living, and this is his field, and he is just shitting the bed while he's talking to the police. Wild to me. This guy, he's got to go. He's horrible. I wouldn't want to learn from this fucking idiot. Gonna get my 40 hours in. Take your fucking 40 hours and shove up your fucking fat ass. The shit pisses me off. Couldn't be bothered to pay attention to anything. In the world that we live in right now, okay, with everything that's going on, you're not paying attention as a teacher, and people are just going into places and shooting up places, and you're not paying attention. What a moron. What an absolute fucking idiot. That's just so unsafe. Pay attention. Blank gave me a printout of his original question and the revision question Culber had produced and had given to blank on November 10th. Did he want to shy away from this because he was like, oh shit, this is what triggered him? This is on November 10th. That I had words with Brian Culber. You guys, look at this date. Is Snyder trying to is he not being truthful about his words with Brian Culber and what he was saying to this man, right? Did he trigger him? What happened November 10th? Oh yeah, I just made him change his question. Oh, just like that. I was just, I told him, yeah, you're not using that question. Revise it. This happened on November 10th. That's just right before the murders. That would be the Friday, right? What, Thursday? The 11th is Friday. The 12th, the night. These people are sick. All they care about is their jobs, their pensions, and you understand that if this would have went to trial, this dude was going to be called to the stand, no doubt about it. And we believe it's Professor what? Schneider? Go have another beer at happy hour, buddy. Go cry to the bartenders about these TAs that you just can't control. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Can't believe it. I also scanned these printouts and have placed them on the same disk that contains the audio recordings of this and the other blank interviews. What other blank interviews? His other interviews that you recorded? Great job. Do you understand that these did not get put into evidence to even be able to be listened to and heard until well after March 30th, depending on when this was provided to this report was even provided to the defense? These reports were written up well after, like January, February, March, at least 3 months after he was arrested. We further discussed instances with Colbert that have already been covered in previous interviews. These topics included Colbert's issues he had with females in the program, as well as discussion regarding the process of this TA position being terminated. Thank you. We haven't heard anything about this. He discussed his past experience with TAs compared with current TAs. Blank discussed his opinion that Colbert should have been kept on as a TA because Blank believed that Blank, WSU, had an obligation to continue to honor their commitment in offering him a TA position. God, look at him backing the university. Colbert relied on that commitment, and if WSU was going to remove that from him, WSU needed to make sure they had thoroughly documented the reasons why. You guys, you don't need, if you're just doing your job, it's going to be documented. You don't need to go, if this is where HR to me and these type of things is just common sense. Okay. Something happens, you're documenting it, right? It's like writing somebody up when they're late for work. Hey, here, I wrote this up, sign it, sign it. Where's Brian's signature on anything that he would have gotten a copy of? What is the protocol? Where is the policy manual? What the fuck? This is all coming up all these months later, right? And you have these professors that are being told from the university, don't say certain things, right? And then you're over here like, but the cops are asking me, who's the feds? You want me to lie to them? This is wild. This is wild because WSU is run by a bunch of snowflakes. Yep, I said it. Like, that's crazy. You don't need to be scared of anything. Here's the work. Here's the policy. Here's what we do. We communicate. You have a problem, you come and talk. You write an email. Okay? You make formal complaints. Having disagreements on your opinion on a topic is not grounds for somebody getting fired, okay? I'm sorry. Now someone following you, somebody sexually harassing you, somebody stalking you. And then we live in 2022. You're going to tell me that none of these people took their phones out and recorded anything or took a picture? Like, if somebody knows that you're recording, you can do that in Washington. So if I have my phone out here and I'm like, listen here, you little prick, you know what? I'm recording this. Fuck you. And I tell you I'm recording, I'm allowed to do that. I can't hide the recording. Listen here, you want to say this stuff? Go ahead, say it on a recording. I don't know who you think you are, but this is going to stop. Go debate somebody else. I'm not here to debate you. I want nothing to do with you. Actually, nobody here wants anything to do with you. Why don't you go back to Pennsylvania? None of that exists. Dude, people whip out their phones for everything. That's just crazy to me. Maybe they do exist. So he's over here taking the universities back that, hey, you just better document all this stuff. Well, when was the date of all of this? Blank said he was concerned that removing Culver from the TA position without doing so would open WSU up to a civil lawsuit from Culver. From Culver, a civil lawsuit. Well, what about from the families? How about now? What's up now? What if, based on their policy, he was supposed to be fired and terminated, and he was supposed to be kicked out of his housing, therefore leaving him with no housing, therefore leaving him with the only option to return to Pennsylvania? Okay. And then they no trespass him, right? So then he's forced out. Here, go back. What's the policy on contacting somebody after something like that would occur to be able to give them that type of information? Like, do some of these policies need to change, that you should be letting somebody know when something triggering like this would occur, and it could affect somebody's mental health, and that somebody should be aware of this as to, hey, we just let so and so know that they, if you think all these crazy things about this kid, what do you think telling him something like that would do? Anybody. It's like firing a dad from his job who's supporting his family, and he's the only one that works, and now he's going to take a gun and go rob a store to get money and ends up killing people in the robbery. There's triggers in life. And I would think that at a university, because you have an emergency contact that you put down on your forms, that the school could then inform somebody about something like this so that somebody would be aware. And then Brian Culver's dad doesn't fly down in December. Brian Culver's dad flies down whenever this supposedly took place, really took place. These are the things that should be like people should be talking about when they want to talk about, could this have been prevented? But it all is going to come back to, was there truly a problem? But if there truly was a problem, then maybe some policy should change. Okay. For example, what if you're an athlete and you don't make grades, right? You don't make grades, so therefore you're ineligible, and you're, let's say, traveling on a trip and you're out of the state, right? But you just find out that you became ineligible. What does your coach do? Well, I can tell you the first thing that our coaches would have done, they tell our parents about that. Because it's always about safety and protection of the athlete. So they tell our parents about something like that, right? But then they're out on a trip, so the university's over here like, you have to send people back home, and so how does that all happen? Like, there's policies in place. Something like that would be devastating for somebody, right? I'm getting mixed signals over here from WSU. That's what I'm getting. Sexual harassment. Blank talked about a situation where he was meeting with Blank and Kober in his office in order to prepare for a final exam question for his undergraduate class. Kober announced he had to have a Zoom meeting with another student. Blank assumed Kober was advising him that he had this Zoom meeting so that because he was going to leave for this meeting and he could not help with the exam prep. Instead, Kober proceeded with the Zoom meeting in Blank's office, preventing Blank and Blank from preparing for the exam. These are the examples that you're giving? You guys, this doesn't get people fired. What? You know, there was this one time. Yep. He told me he had a Zoom meeting, and I thought it was just odd that he just fired up this Zoom meeting while we're over here trying to prep for an exam final with questions. What? What do you mean? Well, yeah, it's my office. Why would he have a Zoom meeting in my office? Well, how long did it take? Well, why didn't you tell him to go to his office? What the fuck? You guys, this is crazy. This is like this is just communication. You would think that Brian Kober was in his office holding a student hostage with a gun. And that's like, what? This is somebody that had a Zoom meeting. This behavior is what led to him stabbing 4 fucking students? I wouldn't think so. But then again, maybe your interviewer just isn't asking the right questions, isn't writing down the right shit. I don't fucking know. But reading this and then having Van Leuven up on the stand and asking him, so Detective Van Leuven, he was talking about a Zoom meeting. So Brian was having a Zoom meeting with a student. Is that part of his requirements? Did you ask him if, like, what was it for? I mean, why was he having a Zoom meeting with a student? Aren't they supposed to do those things? Yeah, I think it was just, he just didn't want him to do it in his office. Or was it that he's supposed to be helping with prep for the final exam? And why didn't the guy say, no, you're going to tell that person that you can reschedule your Zoom meeting because you need to be here helping prep for this final exam? So Professor Snyder just let him get out of what he was supposed to be doing to do a Zoom meeting. Well, why didn't he tell him that he can reschedule that? What was the problem with it? It was just that he did it in his office. He didn't have a problem, though, that he was skipping out on the prep for the final exam, which is what he's getting paid to be a TA for. And that why would Brian Kober ever schedule a Zoom meeting with somebody during the time that it was scheduled to prep? Was this a scheduled event that was happening for this final exam? So Brian Kober just went ahead and scheduled a Zoom with another student during a time that was already slated for something else. Is that? And Van Leuven's going to say, I don't know. I don't know any of these answers. And you don't know any of these answers because you didn't ask any of these questions, right? Let me get my stab at Van Leuven one day. Van Loovy Poovy. Exactly. BK seems like he was just an annoying fucking yellow teeth motherfucker, okay? That's what I think. But then he goes and he kills 4 people, though. And they're all over here trying to understand why. Well, you're not getting to the why when you're doing these type of reports and asking these type of questions. It ain't going to get you the why. It's just sad. Just the victims deserve better than this shit, man. So Brian Kober proceeded with the Zoom meeting in Blank's office, preventing Blank and Blank from preparing for the exam. Blank had to tell Kober to leave his office. So then you were able to prepare for the exam. But my question is why didn't you tell Brian Kober, hey, no, you're not having a Zoom meeting right now. This block of time is scheduled for this. This is what we're doing. Okay. So if you could email the student and let them know that you can do that afterwards. But did you not put it in your calendar that we had this? Or in fact, was this a last minute by the professor to say, well, hey, since you guys are just here, let's just prep for this exam so we don't have to come back tomorrow because I can be done with my 40 hours for the week. Did it go a little more like that? This is weak. This is pathetic. Blank advised blank had provided him with a slightly different version of the revised exam reference question above. Blank did recall discussing this question with blank. What did he say about it? What did he say when you slightly different version? We discussed Colbert. Well, this is all you're going to talk about? Blank advised that blank had provided him with a slightly different version of the revised exam question reference above. Blank did recall discussing this question with who? With who? Well, what came from it? What the fuck? Well, Lana, you're going to have to listen to the interview. We discussed Koberger's tendency to stare at people. Wow. Blank thought that Koberger did this in a way to display power or dominance. Wow. Blank mentioned a senior named blank that complained that Koberger stared at her a lot in class and made her feel uncomfortable. You guys, it's kind of like this, all right? When you're around mentally disabled children or students or adults, okay, and you can see that they are mentally handicapped by physical appearance, okay, you can see that, okay? When somebody has disabilities that you cannot see, all right, but if Brian Koberger's autism could have been like seen, you know, like how you could physically see somebody with Down syndrome, okay, none of these reports would exist, in my opinion, about the stuff that has to do with autism that are a characteristic of that. Like, this is what tends to happen when you have when you're autistic, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And do you know how many times I've come in contact with, through when I was a coach, with our special ed programs at the high school, we had, there'd be a handful of children with Down syndrome, kids that were in high school. And there's a lot of times that they would act out. Okay. And I would just be like, oh, wow, so-and-so's on one today, you know? Johnny was one of, like, the kid was like, can I be the manager for the basketball team? And I was like, heck yeah, Johnny, you can. He had just crazy energy. Awesome. But there would be days that he was on one and it was just like, okay, nobody even look at Johnny today. Don't talk to him because he just snap. It'd be like, he would just say things. He'd be like, but if a kid that didn't have Down syndrome said what Johnny had said that day, they would have been brought down to the office and given a suspension because he would cuss. He would cuss at you. He would. And I'm over here, I would laugh about it because I thought it was funny when he'd be like, oh, these motherfuckers, I can't even fucking believe them. And I'm like, oh, Johnny, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You know? And I'd tell him, like, it's okay, you know? No. And then he would be like, no, coach, I'll fuck you too. And I'm like, oh, God. I didn't send Johnny down to the office and be like, put his ass in, you know, detention for a week. Okay? But you better believe that probably if it was anybody other than Johnny saying that to me, I'd have been like, what the fuck are you talking about? And who do you think you're talking to? Get your ass down there, you know? So, wow. It's just, the lack of awareness, the lack of communication. Hey, Brian, why do you stare at people when they're like, I mean, do you realize that you're doing it? Like, you're just like, you've been staring at me for like 30 minutes. Oh my God, no, I didn't even realize that. Or let him say whatever. Like, does anybody, like, you would think of all people that know, these people should know how to communicate. Like, these people are like therapists. Fuck. What did William do? Did he just buy everybody memberships? William turned 50 people in here green. William Tardy, 55. I think you, 55. This is a 55 and older group. 50, 60, 60. I tried. I love William. If you turn green right there, but people could say to me, well, Lana, you treated Johnny differently than you treated everybody else. And I would say, absolutely I did. Well, why would you do that? I don't know. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Would you? Oh, Lana, that's so unfair. That's fine. You can think that I'm being unfair. I think I'm being compassionate. I think that I'm relating. I'm like, oh man, he's having a really bad day. Like, taking him down to the office and getting him suspended for the week. How is that going to help him if what he's doing, he doesn't grasp that whole, like, there's things that, why would I do that to him? You know? If you pay attention and you give people a little bit of your time, you'll see some things. And I'll have my own conversations with Johnny and I'll say, hey, you can't do what you did earlier, but I want to know why he did it. Why is he so upset? Why don't you ask why? Not get down to the office. Hey, dude, what's going on? What's the problem? What's up? We have a big game. We need to have you on your A game, Johnny. We can't have you like this. So I need to know what's up. We gotta get some ice cream? Talk about it? Come on. Like, if you don't, like, that's what being an educator is all about. And these people don't seem, at WSU, they need, stop trying to make a quota, I guess. I don't know. Hire people that, I got to hire so many. What? It just. It's sad. I want to hear these interviews because I want to hear if anybody's saying anything like, dude, I can't believe this. I cannot believe that one of my students did this, or the person that was my TA did this, or how did this happen? Like, yeah, Brian was annoying but no way, like, would I ever say that kid would go and kill anybody, or that he was planning to kill. And, wouldn't you be like self-evaluating yourself a little bit to say, how did I miss this? Like, not these motherfuckers. I'd also be brokenhearted, I think, because I think I would blame myself a little bit. I think I had some blame. Like, wow. Or like, maybe if I would have actually talked to him, I would have really seen how fucked up he was, instead of just saying, I need to get out of here and it's my end of my work week. And I don't know. But these people that are saying that Brian has no empathy, I see none of these people with empathy, or it's family events reports that are just making it seem like these people are the ones that are just so quick to judge a book by its cover. I think that we're taught that at such a young age that everybody's different, and at least that's what I was taught. You don't make fun of somebody that has, that's mentally retarded or has physical disabilities or whatever it is. Like, you're taught that. You're taught to, like, you don't stare. If you don't have something nice to say, you don't say anything at all. And so you have to ask Brian Kober's parents, how the fuck did you raise Brian Kober to be like that? Or did you coddle him? Being on the phone 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day, I don't think that that's healthy. Even if for whatever reason, I mean, don't care. Because as a parent, I'd be thinking, well, if he's doing all that stuff with us and he has all this work to do, what is he doing? There's no other time then, um, Sid, I love that name. Is it short for Sydney? Just curious. But I like the name Sid. Spreading the love. Thanks for all you do, Lana. Hey, we just try to have a truthful community over here and talk about things that from all angles. And I don't believe that just because someone says something to me, I don't say it's the gospel. I'll do my own research. If I want to question something, I can question it. We have that right. At least I live in America. Some people that watch don't live here, but and actually feel bad for people that live other places and they can't do what we can do here. I think that's what yesterday's I'm so pissed off about is that whew, you just shot somebody because of one of our freedoms. You want to talk about our rights? Somebody yesterday is trying to fuck with our rights. That's what I look at. I don't look at you're from this side, you're from that. Are you kidding me? That's what people are fucking arguing about right now? No. Gaslighting. All I see is gaslighting. Gaslighting, man. You don't have the right to shoot somebody. Okay? We have the right to bear arms. We have the right to First Amendment, freedom of speech, right? We have these rights. Yesterday, what somebody did not have the right to do was to shoot and kill another human being. You don't have that right. But if you think for a second that should be used to say, this is why guns shouldn't, we, take away our guns. Are you fucking insane? Do you think that that's actually what Charlie would say? No, he wouldn't. And people that would use that for an agenda other than what it is, somebody shot and killed somebody. Somebody violated our rights. Okay? Find the motherfucker that did it. It doesn't matter. And don't let people gaslight and spin it. Period. That's all I have to say about that. If someone wants to kill you, someone wants to kill somebody, you guys, people kill people. How about the Idaho4? They used a knife. So none of us should have knives. Come on. No. It's illogical. And P.S., that shot that was taken, it's kind of like the Brian Drake shot, okay? Dan Moore didn't drive around 2 times and then walk on by, blinds closed down, and just shoot a magic bullet, okay, that hit him so perfectly through a closed blind, through window, double pane that could just projectile do every, you don't know what's going to do, and hit him, strike him so perfectly, and cause internal bleeding almost immediately to take him out within 5 seconds, not be able to be with it. This is somebody that knew how to shoot, and I'm not even a gun person. So sad. So freaking sad. But then I think of like Boston, with everything that's going on with Aiden Kearney, and it's like Boston's doing the same thing, trying to take away people's First Amendment rights over there. That dude's facing so many felony charges that if he was to be convicted of all that shit, he's never getting out of prison. What the fuck's wrong with what's going on? Because you get asked some questions with a microphone? You think that's what? No gag order, you're a witness, and it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. The leadership. Horrible. Sad. Back to Brian Kober over here. He said that here he wanted you to blank advise he had not observed any inappropriate behavior from Kober aimed at any undergraduate students. Period. Wow. Brian Kober is doing all of this shit, and this guy didn't observe any of it. Don't you guys know when teachers are told things that students bring to their attention? Do you guys know what teachers normally do? They go out of their way to see if they can catch this person doing that. That's what good teachers will do. Because it's like, okay, but you don't make it obvious, but you're like, okay, let me just put the feelers out. Let's see. Do you think that this guy did that? No. But he didn't observe any of it. And he just said that, hey, you know what? You should just go talk to these people. He said he thought Kober did a good job in correcting poorly written answers, and he had not observed bias or inappropriate tone in grading. What? Do you understand that on the stand, that is going to destroy what everybody else is saying? Because he has the experience, because he's dealt with it for so long. And these first incoming PhD students, okay, it's going to crush, like when I think a jury would consider that. I just can't believe that one student had made a complaint about this, but blank did not see it. Again, just what a phenomenal job. Great. Let's see. Where was this other one that was just mind blowing? Okay. Okay. This is one of the January 6th. Gary Tolson. There you go, Gary. Great job. The interview was conducted on the blank in the blank room. The interview was recorded with blank's knowledge and permission. This person told us that he had contact with Brian Kober. Look at how he spells Brian. Get the fuck out of here. These people don't pay attention to shit. Brian, awesome. Brian Kober was a student seeking a criminal justice doctorate at blank WSU. They had met several times to discuss requirements for Kober's doctorate studies. They also met twice in social settings, once at a barbecue and then at a holiday Christmas event. Blank described Kober as socially awkward around people. He did not see any other behavior that he thought was odd, but did tell us that Kober was removed from blank because of his rudeness and unprofessional behavior toward the other students and college professors. And wouldn't you say, where did you get that information? Like, how do you know that? I would be asking, how did you know that? He did not see any other not that was odd, but he did tell us that Kober was removed. Blank suggested we speak to blank about complaints others had brought against Kober. Blank is the blank. See supplemental 91. That's all Big Gare Bear wrote. Good job, Gary. Phenomenal report. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay, so here. This report was on the 9th. Gary Tolson jumping up with Sean Prosser in there. The interview took place blank room, doesn't matter. This person is also present in the interview was Washington State Attorney General. Okay. Blank is employed blank. She has held this position for approximately blank. During the normal course of her duties, she regularly interacted with Kober. This occurred during new student course orientation, course functions, and other course-related activities. Course. Additionally, Kober was present at blank during an early semester student meet and greet barbecue. Blank's position also requires she interacts with students to discuss course options and any issues students may have. This includes student interactions with faculty members and other students. As a result, she is a repository for complaints made by students. She described her initial interactions with Kober as ordinary. Nothing he came across as lonely. What? These people can't type. Nothing he came across as lonely. Blank is also from Kober's home state of Pennsylvania. And Kober would strike up conversations about hiking in the local area. As weeks progressed, Kober would hang out in the hallways of the blank and her office. Blank described Kober as creepy. What? The woman that's in charge of this is saying he's creepy? That is unbelievable. He's creepy. He's creepy. He's definitely a creepster, but we just kept him around here, just let him creep around. He's playing TLC creep. No scrubs, you know. Unreal, man. He's a creepy. He's a creepster. He's described as creepy, and he would simply stand at her desk and stare at her or her coworker. What? And you guys were just like, yep, that's fine. Like, you guys didn't say like to him, like, hey, what can we do for you? What's up? What do you need? What's going on, Brian? Why are you staring at me? Blame and blank at one stage blocking the coworker in her desk area. He would also follow them out to their cars at the end of the day. What? You're going to sit there and tell me he followed you out to your cars. You didn't see him continue to walk and he get into his car? I mean, his continued behavior resulting blank arranging blank to meet at 5 hours after work to escort them to their car. What? Blank said complaints from faculty members, administration staff, and other students was referred to the blank blank blank. These complaints reference his rude and belittling behavior towards women and his unprofessional rude dealings with his blank. Blank blank blank, this person. This resulted in a mandatory training class for all graduate students regarding behavior expectations. Wait, what? You didn't tell him, like, hey, we're going to have a class because you are a fucking idiot and you don't know how to behave. Like, what? What do you mean a class? He's 28 years old. You don't need to teach somebody how to behave. If they're not behaving, they're bye-bye. Like, what is going on? Is this the narrative after the fact? I don't get it. This is how they dealt with it. Let's just have a class, a behavioral class. So this has nothing to do with sexual harassment. This is about behavior. This is your expectations. Well, so then how about this? Where is there a fucking report of the person that conducted this behavioral class? Where is that report? Can someone tell me? Who led the class in this behavioral class? Have you guys found that report? I mean, I'm still looking. Who led the class? Who did they call to say, hey, we need you to come in and speak to our PhD students about behavior? Nobody seems to know anything about this little class that they had. This resulted in a mandatory training class for all graduate students. So none of the undergrads, just grads. She said during Kober's attendance at this class, he sat at the back with his hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. What? She said in total, 9 complaints have been filed against Kober. 9. Refer to the refer to the recording for greater detail. Yeah, why can't you write it? Dude, what's wrong with these people? This was too much for him to write. Look at this. God forbid he has to write just a couple paragraphs. Couple there, couple there. Just listen to the interview, man. I don't got time for this shit. Okay, sounds good. Now this is where we get into John Kemp and his interviews. On January 9th, at approximately 12:15, Idaho State Police Captain John Kemp and Idaho State Police Sergeant, she's a chick, conduct an interview of blank. The interview took place at the blank blank in the Pullman, Washington. The interview was referenced in the meeting. Brian Kober at a pool party. What? She could not recall if he was drinking at the party or not. Nothing in particular stood out about Kober. After the homicides, blank searched her phone, remembering Kober had sent her a text. That's the girl. Okay. Now this is on April 18th. On April 18th. It's a long delay. After being advised of the purpose of the interview, during the first semester of 2022, this person, he was enrolled in blank criminal justice course, and Kober was a TA for the course. He had very few interactions with Kober. Kober was present the first or second day of course to introduce himself, but was absent a majority of the time. So Snyder didn't say to him, hey, are you going to come to class? So this is an undergraduate class. How many times was he a TA? Because if he's supposedly being certain ways with the undergrad students, the females, but he's never in class, how could that possibly have happened? That's where I'm like struggling to understand, because everything is contradicting each other. This kid's like, dude, Kober came for the first couple classes and never came back. The first time was when he was meeting with blank following an absence due to an unexpected family member's death. What? During the meeting, Kober was in the room but didn't say anything, which he thought was strange. The second time was during a scheduled Zoom meeting between him, blank, and Kober. At the scheduled time, neither blank nor Kober were on the call, so he sent an email inquiring if they were still available to meet. A short time later, Kober joined. Oh, boom, boom, boom. Here it is. Oh, God, look at that. This kid is calling out Snyder. Remember I asked you how that whole Zoom meeting went down? This kid's saying not just Kober, but another person was supposed to be on this call, but he wasn't on it. Like, wait, what? The second time was during a scheduled Zoom meeting between him, blank, and Kober. At the scheduled time, neither blank nor Kober were on the call. So he sent an email inquiry, and that's when Kober was like, oh shit, we have this Zoom meeting. He asked if they were still available to meet. A short time later, Kober joined the Zoom meeting from blank's office, which he thought was strange. He thought it was strange because why didn't this guy, if he's in his office, why isn't he on the meeting as well? Because he's supposed to be part of it. This is sick. And people are like, Lana, why don't you read this stuff? I'm like, read what? This kid is saying that another person was supposed to be on that Zoom meeting. It had to be the person whose office it was, and he thought it was strange. Why wouldn't he have been on the Zoom meeting if Kober is in his office and the other dude's right there? Why aren't I meeting with the two people I'm supposed to be meeting with, who's actually my professor, not this TA who I don't even know? And he's never at the classes. Like, what the fuck? I would have been pissed too if I was a student. Been like, I'm having this to find out, like, hey, Are your guys' questions going to be from what? Like notes or the book? Dude, it's all fuck this. These people suck. He was able to quickly discern Blank and Cobra were, quote unquote, not on good terms with each other, in part by the way Blank was telling Cobra to end the meeting. End the meeting. That's not what Blank said. That's not what that teacher said. That teacher said you need to leave and go have this meeting somewhere else, right? This isn't the first time that this kid was interviewed. No wonder why it's in April. I bet you Ann Taylor had interviewed him because Cobra was like, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. Go talk to what's his name. Here's the email. He was supposed to be in on that. That's why I was down there and saying, when he emailed me, I said, hey, we have this meeting. You want to have this Zoom meeting? That's not how that happened at all. Which would then, for if Ann Taylor then talked to this kid, then that's why this didn't happen until August or April 18th. You guys are, this is unbelievable. It's all about timelines with me. And this tells me this kid wasn't interviewed until April 18th. Remember, I told you all of the reports were written up at the end of March 30th. And then by the time Ann Taylor is getting the stuff, oh my God. The university's like, I get it. We want to help you nail this guy, but you want us to say things that didn't happen and then put us on the hook for basically being sued. Wow. Interesting. A short time after the Zoom meeting ended, he received an email from Blank advising him he, Blank, wasn't upset with his questions, but instead he had other stuff going on, which he assumed meant Kohlberger. Yeah, I want to hear this interview. He didn't have any other personal firsthand information to provide, but he had heard from several other people of issues between Blank and Kohlberger. However, he was unable to provide any names. Wow, interesting. All right, and that is what we'll pick up next time. There's an alleged picture release of Charlie's shooter. Well, that's awesome if they have somebody. Like I said, thanks so much, members, subscribers, moderators, Mary P, Murky, William, Miss Potts, Boston. Who else I see in here? Joanne. Who else did I see in here? Those sexy little blue people. Miss Potts, I think, was in here. Did I say her? All those Flex and the Blue Wrench. Thank you. We appreciate you. Until next time, guys. Over and out.